Marcus Kane pressed his back against the crumbling concrete wall, listening for any signs of movement in the debris-filled corridor ahead. The air in Colony 7's remains tasted of rust and radiation, a bitter reminder of the war that had torn this world apart 3 years ago. His pulse rifle hung heavy in his grip as he navigated through the skeletal remains of what was once a thriving settlement. The sound came again, soft whimper echoing from somewhere deeper in the rubble. Marcus froze. Survivors were rare in the dead zones, and most who remained weren't friendly. Still, something about the sound tugged at his conscience. Against his better judgment, he followed the noise through a gap in the collapsed ceiling behind a pile of twisted metal and broken glass. He found her. The alien girl was curled against the wall, her luminescent blue skin pale and covered in cuts. Her species was unmistakable, a Nexari, with their distinctive, elongated limbs and flowing silver hair. But this one was different. Even through the grime and blood, Marcus could see the intricate golden markings along her arms and neck, patterns he'd only seen in old archive footage of Nexari nobility. Her large, violet eyes opened as he approached, fixing on him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper, but the words hit him like a physical blow. "Help me stand again. Human, and I'll give you everything," she pleaded, trying to push herself up on trembling arms. "I am Zara of the 7th House. I can bear you strong children, offer you knowledge of the old technologies, wealth beyond your imagination." Marcus lowered his weapon, studying her face. There was pride there, even in her broken state. This wasn't the desperate babbling of someone who'd lost their mind to trauma. This was a calculated offer from someone who understood the harsh realities of survival in the wasteland. "I'm not looking for a wife or a slave," Marcus said quietly, kneeling beside her. "But you're hurt, and nobody deserves to die alone in a place like this." Tears gathered in her violet eyes as he gently examined her injuries. A deep gash ran along her left leg, and her right arm was clearly broken. She'd been here for days, maybe longer, slowly dying in the ruins of his old world. "Why help me?" Zara asked as Marcus began tearing strips from his jacket to use as bandages. "Your people and mine, we were enemies in the war." Marcus paused in his work, meeting her gaze. "The war's over. Everyone lost." He continued wrapping her wounds with careful precision. "Besides, I've seen enough death. Maybe it's time to try saving something instead." As he lifted her gently in his arms, Zara's head fell against his shoulder. Her body was lighter than he expected, fragile, despite her alien strength. "My shelter isn't far," he murmured. "You'll be safe there." For the first time since he'd found her, Zara's expression softened. "What is your name, human?" "Marcus," he replied, carrying her through the ruins toward the hidden entrance to his underground refuge. "And you're going to live, Zara. I promise you that." Healing and Trust Marcus's shelter was carved from the remains of an old subway tunnel, reinforced with salvaged steel and powered by a small fusion cell he'd bartered 4 months ago. The space was cramped but warm. With a medical station he'd assembled from various pieces of equipment found throughout the wasteland. As he carefully laid Zara on the narrow bed, she gazed around the modest quarters with wonder. "You built this yourself?" she asked, wincing as he began cleaning the infected wound on her leg. "Had to. The surface isn't safe anymore. And the other settlements, well, they don't welcome scavengers like me." Marcus worked with steady hands, his touch surprisingly gentle for someone who'd spent years fighting for survival. "This might hurt." Zara bit back a cry as he applied the antiseptic, her fingers gripping the bed's edge. Marcus noticed the way her skin seemed to shimmer in the artificial light, a trait unique to her people that he'd only heard described in military briefings. Up close, she was beautiful in an otherworldly way that made his chest tighten unexpectedly. "Tell me about the markings," he said, trying to distract both of them from the intimacy of the moment. "I've never seen patterns like those before." Zara's expression grew solemn as she looked down at the golden design spiraling along her arms. "They mark my bloodline. I was, the last daughter of House Sanathon. My people believed these markings would ensure our genetic legacy survived even after death. What happened to your house?" Marcus asked, beginning to set her broken arm with a makeshift splint. The same thing that happened to all the great houses, she said, her voice hollow. War, betrayal, extinction. I watched my family die in the orbital bombardment of our home world. I've been running ever since, trying to stay ahead of the hunters who want to claim the bounty on my head. Marcus paused in his work. Bounty? Zara met his eyes. Dead Nexari nobility are worth credits to the right collectors. Live ones are worth even more. There are humans and aliens alike who would pay handsomely for the chance to own the last of my bloodline. That's why you offered yourself to me, Marcus realized. You thought I was another bounty hunter. I thought, if I made myself valuable enough, it might keep me alive a little longer. Zara's voice was barely audible. It's what I've been doing for 3 years. Trading pieces of myself for another day of survival, Marcus secured the last of the bandages and sat back, his jaw tight with anger. Not at her, but at a galaxy that could reduce someone to such desperation. Well, you don't have to trade anything here. You're safe now. Zara stared at him in disbelief. You don't understand. I have nothing left to offer except my body and the knowledge in my head. Why would you help me without asking for something in return? Marcus stood and moved to the small food preparation area, pulling out 2 ration packs. Maybe because the right thing to do doesn't always need a reason. As he prepared their simple meal, Marcus felt Zara's eyes following his every movement. When he returned to sit beside the bed, she reached out with her uninjured hand and touched his arm. You're different from what I expected, she said softly. The humans I knew during the war were hard, cold. You have gentleness in you. Their eyes met, and Marcus felt something shift between them, a connection that went beyond mere survival. Get some rest, Zara. Tomorrow we'll figure out our next move. 3 days later, the peace of Marcus's sanctuary was shattered by the distant rumble of atmospheric engines. Zara bolted upright on the bed, her healing injuries forgotten as fear flashed across her face. They've found me, she whispered, reaching for Marcus's arm. We have to run. Now, Marcus was already moving, gathering essential supplies into a pack while checking the external sensors he'd placed around the shelter. The readings showed multiple heat signatures converging on their location, moving with military precision. Who is it? He asked, helping Zara to her feet. She was still weak, but her natural healing abilities had begun to mend the worst of her injuries. Corvin, she said, the name leaving her lips like a curse. He's a Thrakari bounty hunter. He's been tracking me across 3 systems. He won't stop until he has my head. The sound of energy weapons discharging echoed through the tunnel system above them. Marcus grabbed his rifle and activated the shelter's emergency protocols, sealing the main entrance while opening a hidden escape route he'd prepared for exactly this scenario. Can you run? He asked, slinging the pack over his shoulders. Zara nodded, though he could see the pain in her eyes. I've been running from him for years. I won't stop now. They emerged from the back exit into the sprawling ruins of the old commercial district. The twisted remains of skyscrapers provided cover as they moved deeper into the wasteland, but Marcus could hear their pursuers getting closer. Heavy footsteps and the whine of scanning equipment meant Corvin had brought a full hunting party. There, Zara pointed to a partially collapsed underpass. We can lose them in the old storm drains. As they ran, Zara stumbled, her injured leg giving out. Marcus caught her, pulling her against him as they pressed into the shadows of the underpass. Their faces were inches apart, both breathing hard from exertion and fear. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice breathless. You could have turned me over to them, collected the bounty yourself. Marcus looked into her violet eyes, seeing not just the alien features that marked her as different, but the person beneath. The courage, the vulnerability, the fierce determination to survive despite everything the galaxy had thrown at her. Because you matter, he said simply. Not as a prize or a commodity, but as someone worth saving. Before she could respond, the harsh voice of the Thrakari hunter echoed through the ruins. Human, we know you have the Nexari female. Surrender her now, and we will allow you to live. Marcus tightened his grip on his rifle. Over my dead body, Zara's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. Together, then? Together, he confirmed, and they began to move deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels, leaving their hunters to follow their trail into the dangerous heart of the dead city. Sanctuary and Passion, the abandoned research facility, sat like a metal tumor against the barren landscape, its solar collectors still functioning despite years of neglect. Marcus and Zara had been running for 2 days, staying ahead of Corvin's hunting party through a combination of luck and Marcus's intimate knowledge of the wasteland's hidden paths. The radiation signatures should mask our heat, Marcus explained as they approached the facility's entrance. It's not much, but it'll buy us time to plan our next move. Inside, the facility was a maze of corridors lined with empty laboratories and sealed containment units. Emergency lighting cast everything in a pale blue glow, and the air recyclers hummed with steady efficiency. Zara leaned heavily against Marcus as they found a secure room deep in the complex, exhaustion finally overtaking her adrenaline. Rest, Marcus said, guiding her to a cushioned bench that had once served as an examination table. I'll secure the entrances and set up our early warning system. When he returned an hour later, he found Zara sitting by the room's single window, gazing out at the star-filled sky. Her silver hair caught the starlight, and the golden markings on her skin seemed to pulse with their own inner luminescence. My people used to believe that the stars held the memories of our ancestors, she said without turning around. That when we died, our consciousness would join the cosmic dance and watch over future generations. Marcus sat beside her, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from her alien biology. Do you still believe that? I want to, she admitted, finally looking at him. It would mean my family isn't truly gone, that somewhere in the darkness, they're still watching, still hoping I'll survive long enough to rebuild what we lost. The weight of her words hung between them, and Marcus found himself reaching for her hand. Her skin was softer than he'd expected, and when she didn't pull away, he felt a surge of connection that went beyond mere attraction. You won't be alone anymore, he promised. Whatever happens with the hunters, with the future, you have me now. Zara's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Why? I'm a remnant of a dead civilization, hunted by everyone who knows what I am. Staying with me will only bring you danger. Marcus shifted closer, his free hand reaching up to cup her face. Because you're not just a remnant. You're Zara. You're brave and strong and beautiful. And you deserve to have someone fight for you instead of against you. Their lips met in a kiss that was tender at first, then deeper as months of loneliness and fear melted away in the warmth of human contact. Zara's hands tangled in his hair as she pressed against him, her body trembling with emotion. I never thought I would feel this way again, she whispered against his lips. I thought I'd forgotten how to trust, how to hope. Marcus pulled her closer, marveling at the way she fit perfectly in his arms. You don't have to forget anymore. Dawn brought the sound of ships landing outside the research facility, and with them, the end of their brief sanctuary. Marcus woke with Zara curled against his chest, her head resting on his shoulder as the morning light filtered through the window. They've found us, she said quietly. Already alert, despite appearing to sleep. Marcus nodded, listening to the coordinated movement of boots on metal outside. Corvin's persistent, I'll give him that. They dressed quickly and gathered their weapons. But both knew there was nowhere left to run. The facility was surrounded. Their enemies had the advantage of numbers and superior firepower. There's something I need to tell you, Zara said as they prepared for what might be their final battle. The reason Corvin wants me alive isn't just for the bounty. My genetic code contains the key to restarting my people's civilization. With the right technology, they could clone an entire new generation of Nexari from my DNA. Marcus felt ice in his veins. Breeding stock. Worse. A factory for producing a slave race, designed to serve whoever controls the process. Zara's hands shook as she checked her borrowed sidearm. I won't let that happen. I'd rather die free than live as a prisoner in my own body. The facility's main doors exploded inward. Corvin strode through the smoke, flanked by 6 heavily armed mercenaries. The Thrakari hunter was a massive creature, nearly 8 feet tall, with chitinous armor plating and forearms, each capable of wielding a different weapon. Surrender. Female, he growled in heavily accented standard. Your human pet cannot protect you from what comes next. Marcus stepped forward. Placing himself between the hunters and Zara, you want her. You go through me first. Corvin's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Brave words for dead meat. The battle was brief, but vicious. Marcus had trained with the Colonial Marines before the war, and his skills hadn't faded during his years as a scavenger. He moved with lethal precision, using the facility's narrow corridors to limit the hunters. Numerical advantage. Zara fought beside him with desperate courage, her alien agility allowing her to dart between cover points and strike where the enemy least expected. Together, they carved through the mercenaries like a blade through flesh. In the end, only Corvin remained, his armor cracked and one arm hanging useless at his side. You only delay the inevitable, he snarled. Others will come. They will always come. Then we'll face them together, Marcus said. His rifle trained on the hunter's center mass, Zara stepped up beside him, her weapon steady in her hands. I'm not running anymore. The Thrakari's eyes narrowed, then his remaining arms moved toward his weapons. Marcus and Zara fired simultaneously, their shots finding their mark with lethal precision. As Corvin's body hit the floor, Zara turned to Marcus, tears streaming down her face. What do we do now? Marcus pulled her into his arms, feeling the weight of their shared victory and the promise of an uncertain but hopeful future. We live, Zara. We find others like us, people who believe in something better than endless war and exploitation. We build something new. She kissed him then, fierce and desperate and full of love. Together. Forever, he promised, and meant every word.